We're live.
All right.
Live in 5.
Yes. So, as we get started, what we did today is I just pulled up and showed Harrison what we've done on our YouTube and podcast. So we have increased our subscribers by how many percent?
I was like 60 or 70%.
60 or 70% in a week, which sounds way better than...
We got full likes.
yeah. Subscribers, not just likes. That's cool.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this podcast and you get something from it, please subscribe and join our growing community.
Like, subscribe, and share. Yeah, no doubt.
All right. Whoa. Don't lean that way.
These chairs are not made to lean in.
No, I like them, though. They're very comfortable.
So I actually turned mine the other way. Like, I'm straddling my chair.
Yeah, I like it this way.
It causes me to, sit up straight.
Ah.
Yeah.
That's a ticket. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So don't need that anymore.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So today we are basically, Harrison and I meet usually at least weekly, where we just sometimes on the phone, sometimes in person, sometimes doing this, and we just talk about what's been happening, what's next, what's on our mind. And so today we're just going to do it via podcast.
Yeah. So I think that we would be remiss, we're going to use large words today, if we did not talk about the NAR thing, right?
Well,
we don't have a choice.
Yeah.
To be clear, I'm going to be honest, I don't want to talk about it because I'm annoyed by it.
Oh my gosh. Look,
I'm tired of it. My Facebook is flooded and I'm sick of it. Lab coat agent, stop.
Yeah.
Stop it. You're making it worse.
I literally almost texted you last night and said, I'm going to, hide or unsubscribe for the next 30 days. Mm-hmm. And you need to let me know if there's something else I need to know, or I'll check the other, it is so much just dumb. Some of it I actually like a whole lot because people will come in there and go, guys, take a breath and blah. And then the others, I'm just like, really?
So there's just so much fear mongering and negativity and finger pointing going on. The NAR updates via email have actually been the most informative thing, because that is really it's an official legal release.
It's not just everybody and the interesting thing is, I think people are it's one of those much ado about nothing. Mm-hmm. I do now the more I studied, I actually understand, and agents are going to get super pissed. I actually understand the ruling now, meaning why they voted for it. Mm-hmm. Or not voted, but
I think
sided.
It's BlackRock paid for it.
Yeah, well, could be. They own everything.
That's right.
When I say that, there's not another... So let's, in case somebody doesn't know at this point. So basically, NAR was, or the Realtor Association, NAR, the National Association of Realtors, was them and a bunch of large companies were sued regarding commission. And
so the basis of those suits, though, this is why we're here. Number one is companies advertising, list your house for 1%. Well, then they didn't just list their house for 1%. They then said, you have to pay a 3% buyer agent co-op.
Yeah.
They forced that on them. They didn't give them the option because that,
they weren't very, and whoever, and realtor fees have always been negotiable. I think every appointment I've been on, but people know that. And yet,
I would say 40% of my appointments, people go, is it negotiable? Absolutely. But which one of these services do you want taken away? Because I can't afford the high level marketing, Google Ads,
you got to pick something at this price.
Yeah, with professional photography, videography, 3D walkthroughs, and drone work. If you're not going to let me recoup some money off of that.
We got to pay for it.
Yeah.
So with all that said, the settlement came down and said, the NAR lost the judgment. Mm-hmm. So NAR came out with something that says, hey, we're going to, we still can co-op. We can still put all our listings in the multiple listing service so that we we have access to all the listings in one spot. Mm-hmm. And yet the commission that the listing agent is willing to pay to the buyer's agent can't be in that system. So instead of being in that system, we've got to call the agent and say, hey, I know. Well, it's just...
As someone who takes 250 plus listings a year, that is going to be an additional 5,000 phone calls.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure we'll come up with some way, but basically it just can't be in the MLS, which this is where I say that agents are going to get mad at me. I actually understand it now, because at first I was like, that's dumb. It's always been negotiable. And I do still believe that that's true.
Yeah.
The difference is what other industry can you go into a centralized place and see what everybody pays? Like, if I want to go to call a plumbing company, I got to call 3 plumbing companies to find out what they, now it's generally the same, right? But you have to, so that to me is where it actually makes sense, is where they're saying, like, look, it just can't be, now I don't necessarily agree, but it's like, it can't be in one location, because then you can kind of extrapolate that everybody charges this, or that there's a standard.
And in some boards, like, it's very like 50-50 or 55-45. This board is the Wild West.
Well, yeah.
I was looking at settlement statements the other day, because on settlement statements you can see what everybody paid,
and you still will be able,
and that will never change, because
you've got to have truth in lending.
The truth in lending law shows where every dollar and cent goes to all parties at every closing.
That's right.
And so
yet, if you think about, the average agent does 7 transactions. They're not going to have the information that you do, that do to 500.
I've got this many settlement status this year.
Yes.
You know?
And so they're saying, so like, I go, okay, I get it, because that could be. With all that said, and then they were like, because of that, like, it's like whether you're brand new or you've been in the business for years, you can kind of figure out and charge whatever. But so literally all that lawsuit says is, doesn't say that we can't do it. It doesn't say that it's not in the best best advantage for the seller to do it or anything else. It's just saying, like, hey, put it over there. Don't put it here. Okay. So that's all it's saying. And then we've got to sign agents have to sign a exclusive buyer agency explaining that to
explain the relationship and the compensation
to their buyers, which has always been
best practice. Although not practice.
Not very many people do it, but so now I'm just picking. She's
so cool.
I know. And now not just me. There's lots of agents that do it, because to me, it's, you list a house, you list a buyer, and I love for everybody to know everything, so that there's no, like, we all grown ups here. We're gonna. With all that said, so now people are just making it this big thing, and I'm like, the settlement didn't say we could. It literally, that's the only 2 things at this point that it's changed. Now, could it change something else? Sure, because this hasn't been approved by the courts and everything. But people are just being a bit, sky's falling. I've got the nervous vapors, and I'm like, calm down.
If I wasn't able to have intelligent conversations or hard conversations with people, and I was afraid to ask for my worth, I'm a professional listing agent. That's what I do every day, all day. And so me going up to you and they go, hey, well, how much, all sounds great. Like, what does this cost? And they go,
well, you say some percentage.
Oh, wait, hold up. I can say that here. This is not collusion amongst brokerages. I can say whatever I want right now.
Well, I don't know, because if other brokerages listen to this.
This is not collusion. This is Harrison and Alivia time.
Yeah, this will show up if our broker approves. We'll look it up. But
so anyway, and I say, okay, it's this many bananas, right?
Yes.
And they like
they agree, disagree, or negotiate with you to see if you can do something different.
Right. And look, we did it yesterday. This lady called me. She goes, hey, I want to list with you. I'm even willing to take the price, because her agent was charging her beans, not bananas, but beans. And then they had a outrageous price on the property. And I was like, well, we got 2 problems here, And we discussed both of them. She called me back and she said, and this was I landed 4 listings yesterday. Super proud of that. Let's go. And she called me back and she said, hey, I got one problem. I want to pay you this many bananas. I don't want to pay you that many bananas. And I said, if you're cool with me pulling back on your social and Google ads, I'm absolutely. It's the same net in my pocket.
Yeah.
I don't care. My profit margin is this.
Yeah.
And if I get this and you get that, I don't care anymore.
Yeah. Well, and that's one. And that's the other thing. Like, with every property is different, because depends on how hard it's going to take to sell it. Depending on, and the other thing that I think a lot of times people forget is, it's kind of like let's take a a handyman or, somebody in construction, and they come over, and this has been on the internet for a long time, but I like the analogy. You need them to come over to fix something. They come over, it takes them 2 minutes, and they charge you X bananas. And some people would say, well, it only took you 2 minutes. I should only have to pay you beans. No. It took me 2 minutes because of all of the things that I've done all these years to figure out how to fix it quickly.
I had the specialized tools, right? Like, I'm just going to argue, like, in fact, I know that, like, most of my competitors either A, don't have the money, or B, have the competency to do the things that we do in marketing and haven't studied that and created that skill inside their life. And so when, like, yes, I can get things done faster, and statistically, I do get things done faster because I have the right tools in the tool bag.
That would be like, and I've always thought about this, like with sellers, sometimes, and I get it, like you might list their house and they say, oh, well, it's sold in a week. Can I pay you less? Wait a minute. So would you rather pay me more and drag it out for 6 months?
Like, let me cost you money and then pay me more?
Yeah. So it's not it's not one transaction at a time in energy. What it is the market knowledge, the negotiation skills. There's so many other things that go into that. And yet, ultimately, I think we could probably almost end this conversation here, and just say, like, look, things change. Agents, just calm down. If you're listening to this, we got it. If you have questions, reach out to us. Reach out to somebody that is, like, in the market and that they understand how things switch, because this isn't the first time our industry has been interrupted. Heck, imagine back in the day you had to go to other offices and, get a piece of paper, look at their property book. And then years ago, NAR signed something that releases all the information to, Zillow, and so, like, they sold our information, and then that was a bigger deal than this.
Yeah, so I agree, because if you know how to have conversations, and you're right, we probably should, like, get off this. And I think we can sum up with this is, if you know how to have great conversations, understand your value, and create systems and models around this new market, you'll be just fine.
Absolutely. And we said, I said one last thing, you said one last thing, I got to say one last thing, and then we'll be done.
She has to one up me.
Buyer agency fees and buyer agencies have been around for a long time. Buyers can pay. Buyers can negotiate with the seller. Like, there's lots of things. So you can roll it into loans. There's lots of things that can be done. So again, don't freak out. Be educated. That is part of our value proposition, guys.
Is to be educated.
And so let's take it for somebody that's listening to this and maybe they're not in the real estate industry. I'm going to say, this is in any industry. Every industry is going to have market interrupters. Every industry is going to have something that adjusts and changes. Are you in the know? Are you paying attention? Are you studying your craft? And I'm even going to say, who's your coach or who's your mentor? So when things happen, you can go to somebody and say, hey, this is what's going. Help me talk this through. So that it's not oh my gosh, the sky's falling, because every industry is going to have adjustments. And the other thing, if you're great at what you do, even if you had to go to another industry, you'll still be fine.
Yep.
Don't freak out. It's okay. Okay. And that's really the final word on the matter.
Maybe. Can I say one more thing?
Yes. One more.
All right. So I've read reports, and this is one of the reasons that I need to, like, unsubscribe from Lab Coat Agents and a few other things for a little while. And it's the predictions of how much NAR enrollment will fall, like how many realtors are getting out of the game. I think some are going to get out, because that happens all the time, and every time something changes. It makes sense. Some people actually have their license and they're not selling. Then because they have their license for this, that, or the other. And there's just whatever reason. Right, like they were gonna, like, you have your license and you're hoping to pick up 5 or 6 of your family members a year and get that guaranteed commission with no hard conversations. Open a door, write a pre-filled contract, and then take your commission. Right.
Well, I heard the other day, and I don't know what this is in the U.S. or area, but I want to say it was in Toronto. I was listening to an agent he was talking about, and it's like 1 in 4 people in Toronto have their license.
Yeah.
Now, not 1 in 4 people actually do anything with it, but 1 in 4 people have their real estate license. I was like, that's because sometimes it feels that way here, but it's not quite like that.
Yeah. No, it's 1% of our population is a realtor essentially, or central population rather, and. I do think for the people who were just hoping to pick up those 2 or 3 or 4 transactions, I do believe, because now it's gotten harder. Now it's like, hey, look at the MLS. I get paid. Cool. And you call, that person they pick up one call and they go, hey, what are y'all paying? We're not. What do you mean you're not paying? Well, these people, they don't go to classes. They don't have a coach. They're not specializing in this. And they're like, oh, this is rejection now. Now I'm expected to work for free. Okay, F this, I'm out. Mm-hmm. I think those people are going to, I think upon first hiccup, they'll go, I'll sit at the crib.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and it's not for everybody. And it's just like any other business, right? Like most businesses fail within the first 5 years. Mm-hmm. It is, it's hard. And every business is. So if you're a business owner, stick it out, do the things, fine, and yet, it is what it is. So, okay. So that's what's happening in our global world.
Yeah.
I know that something that you had shared with on our group call the other day, and I thought it was pretty cool. I loved that you shared it. And that was that you'd had a hard day. Mm-hmm. And you'd mentioned on a work day, I slept till 10, and then difference, I know you were like, now I worked 100 hours last week and I'm about to work 100 hours this week.
Well, no, I think I'll and I said I think I'll likely make it to 80 this week. And this is included in my work week, right? When I leave here, I'm going to Oak Grove to list a house. When I leave there, I'm going to meet with a possible renter for and sound technician for the R2 building. That's part of my work week, right? And some of this stuff's fun for me. But yeah, no, so last week, I worked so we had the NAR release, turned the world upside down for a lot of people. We have fear inside of even our own office. We have some of the most skilled agents in the world working with us. And I mean that the average agent in our brokerage sold 40 something houses last year. If you were with me for 3 or more years, you sold 50 or more houses. Those people were scared and calling me and going, hey man, am I still cut out for this? Am I ready?
Yeah. Well, and we think about the news, we actually have we have fatigue because, and I didn't realize this, quite this extent, but now I don't know what year this happened, but let's say a long time ago, there used to be a special stipend or whatever they call it, where, and I'm not a huge put the government and stuff by any means, but there was a certain amount of our taxes that was paid, and that covered news channels. Mm-hmm. So they were not all about I have to have ratings to stay on the air. Uh-huh. When that went away, guess what? And nobody's going to tune.
Your advertising agency, basically.
Yeah. And so
no
nobody's.
Clicks, no views, no money.
Yeah. So nobody's going to and the way that the human condition is, our ears perk up on the clickbait and the negative, and then
gossip.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Negativity, death, disease.
So that's what we get more and more of, and we are all fatigued from that. And
this house doesn't turn on the news.
No.
We don't have radio and TV in this house. And I act like it's more than just me in here. Me and the dog, we don't feed ourselves that junk. You walk in here, you may hear some gangster rap, you may hear some emo music, but other than that, you hear motivational videos. In the morning, I'm either getting crunk or I am listening to pep talk. I'm listening to a podcast, a motivational speaker, some personal growth. Yeah. Because you can't live your life like that and grow and go.
Yes. Well, and that's now, I watch TV and things, which you and we have to watch Ted Lasso.
Oh, I have watched that.
Have you? The whole thing?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I love him. I want to be him when I grow up.
My ex-girlfriend, we didn't, I'm not really good at having fun. I don't know if you know that or not.
I think your fun's just maybe different.
Right? My fun's let's go to a business conference. We're going to learn all these things. It's going to be so great.
Yeah.
We'll open up a company.
Yes.
And so that was one of the things that she was like, hey, will you give me an hour? And I was like, yeah, I will put up work for a second, give you an hour. So we would cook dinner, and then we would watch Ted Lasso. And so over the course of 8 months, we crushed that thing. That was a good show.
It was that's
a great show.
I love Yes. The mindset around that and things to that effect.
Oh, look, you can grow from that, Shaq.
Yes,
You
absolutely.
can.
Well, and so funny enough, the next one is Bear. And keep in mind, when you first watch it, like I watched the first episode and I was like, I'm not going to ever watch that again. And then I guess nothing was on and I started watching it and I was like, oh my gosh. Because it's one of the guys, you won't know him, but one of the kids from Shameless is grown. He's in this show. Anyways.
I had an ex-girlfriend that watched Shameless.
Okay.
So I never watched it because
it is trash.
It's too junky for me.
Trash.
It's entirely too junky.
It's good trash, but it's trash.
It's trash.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so then I went back and watched it, and then you see this guy grow, and the people around him grow because of the respect that he demands in his kitchen, and that's where I feel like you should watch this. It's really good, and it's all about seeing people as bigger than they are even before they do. That's my take out of it. And so and even though he's fighting personal demons and things, but he fights them. He goes to anyway, so that would be the next one, and still not as good as Ted Lasso, but he's good.
Yeah.
And yet, so where are we going with this? So we were
talking about my work week and how I had a bad day. All right, so I did 100 hours, but it was 100 hours a day. It was combating the fear, creating a plan. Me and you spent hours together, probably annoying each other because neither one of us want to talk about this anymore. And then living in creation and changing the business model and making sure that we're at the forefront of what's about to happen. Whereas other companies in my opinion are going, hey, nothing changes. I disagree with that. Something changes, and if you're not prepared for it and you go, hey, the sky's not falling, which I agree with that.
Yeah, I don't think the sky's falling.
And you don't have to do anything.
That's
just
right.
Business as usual.
Like, are you prepared to have the conversation? You and I had that conversation because you were like, well, this market yet. And I was like, it doesn't matter what's happening. Like, everything eventually comes. Because I remember doing that in 7 and 8 when the market crashed. We were like, it's not going to hurt our area because we're not high priced. We're not, California. We're not. And like a year later, we're all standing around looking at each other with their, thumbs in our ear going, you got any business? Do you have any business? No, let's go make something
need to go
happen.
find business, right?
Yeah.
And so we did that, and that was mentally exhausting for me because I don't live in a place of fear ever.
What mentally exhausting? Well, like, what's funny that you say that, like, we also both were like, because we both work really well in somebody else's crisis. So we were like, whoo, and it also takes a lot of energy. So you go from woo to
no more.
It's that
No
that
more.
crash.
Yeah.
I kind of did that yesterday. Like I had a really great week, productive week, and matter of fact, I got so involved in several things that I was going all day and when I don't think I ate and I haven't moved because I've been, in this for, and so last night I was just done.
Yeah.
And so I think that's too a little bit probably what you experienced was it just, you pour it all out and you gotta.
Yeah. An empty cup can't pour anything else
That's
out. Right. And, so on top of that, I took so many L's. I listing appointment after listing appointment, lost them, got ghosted. What's funny is normally it's it was a commission. It wasn't commission. Mostly it was price. And we could talk about that. That is probably a great topic to talk about in this market. Sellers really need to start paying attention to that. Lost 7 listings in 2 weeks. And so just to be clear, the average agent does 7 listings in a year. I lost 7 in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well,
and not 7 listings. They get 7 pieces of business, whether buy or sell.
Yeah.
And I lost 7 listings in 2 weeks.
And to clarify, what you mean by lost is you went on the appointment and you didn't win the appointment.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm not used to that. My success rate's over 80%. So, I mean, if I go on 10, losing 2 is normal. 3 would be stings a little bit. If I lose 4, I'm like, whoo, skills. What happened to my skills, right? And so I lost those 7. One of them was for one of our agents, and look,
you don't want to show up that way.
Losing my own appointment, that's it. I'm going on an appointment after we leave here, and if we lose it, it's mine. I'm gonna go in there. I'm gonna own that relationship, and I'm gonna do the best I can because how I show up matters. And yet, that's just being
you have
accountable to
somebody
myself.
else dependent on you,
But
it's
when I
different.
lose someone else's paycheck, that shit weighs on me. And then he was not happy with me. He knew it wasn't my fault. He's like, hey, I was at the appointment with you. You didn't do anything wrong. And yet, like, we still lost it.
Yeah.
Like, what could you have done better to get it? And I was like, dude, I don't know what else I could have done. Like, I guess I could have not consulted her on her price and just said, yeah, well, absolutely take your massively overpriced listing. And yet I hate doing that because that, to me, and listen up, that's integrity.
Well,
Going, hey, Olivia, I know you want 300 for your house, but there is absolutely no data that says it's worth a penny over 250. But sure, I'll buy in so that I can get my sign in your yard and hopefully pull a buyer off of it, cost you 6 months of overhead, while absolutely lying to your face and apologizing to you, telling you I'm doing the absolute best I can for you.
Yeah.
That's integrity, and my name is on this company. I'm not gonna operate like that.
Well, and there is 100%, and there is a thing of, hey, we believe that it would price this price here, and then now the data shows I'm going to have a different conversation with you. Like that happens in pricing and marketing. 100%. That's different than going in and knowing that I'm setting you up for failure. I would rather turn you down now than let you down later.
Yeah.
It is very possible that, and that's where I would actually encourage you when you're going on these appointments, instead of looking at them as a lost sale, there is a progression to every sale. And so if you go in there and say, okay, this is the best case scenario, the second is third, but there are 100%, and then I tell this to agents that I coach, if you take 100% of your listings, one of two things are happening. You're not going on enough listings, or you are saying yes to everybody regardless.
Yeah. Yes, I will work for this cheap. Yes, I will list it for this overpriced price.
And you're not doing yourself or the client an injustice. You have to be willing to have the conversations. I actually used to call them fierce conversations or tough conversations, and I had a coach challenge me on that, and he said, tough? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, no. If you go into the conversation with a mindset of this is a tough one, where are you showing up? No, it is just a conversation that needs to be had.
Yeah.
And so 100%. And so, I would go back to, moving forward, coming into that mindset of, did I lose it or I chose not to take it? And we're talking about last week, your mindset was, man, I lost 7 and
I turned down listing
done.
appointments. I sent Sam on a few and I said, guys, I'm sorry. I'm just a liability right now. Like I lost faith in myself. Like truly did not want to go on listing appointments again because I don't know that I've ever lost 7 in a row, honestly.
Well, and this is the interesting thing though. I think needs to be, and this is why I asked you about this. This needs to be said because I think so often people look at somebody's outsides or they look at what they can see and they're like, oh, they never have challenging days or they never have those thoughts. Okay, we are all human.
Yeah.
100%. There are days you don't want to get out of bed. There are days that the world kicked your ass. Like that shit happens.
Yeah. That was my Tuesday. I did not get out of bed until 10 a.m. I mean, I actively, we had an accountability call every day at 8:30 for the team. And I looked at my clock and I went, F that. And I went back to sleep and I got up around, I don't know, 9:15 or so, went and showered, and then I went and got back in bed. And I was like, I'm just not prepared to do this for the day yet. And I waited until I had energy, and I was like, all right, you got to go do something. And I went and did the things that day. Like I worked, and I did paperwork, and I did some business stuff, and I did the things that I was comfortable with that day. But I wasn't ready to face a seller that day. Yeah.
And again, this is where I think it's such, and again, probably in not probably in any industry in the world. Now you have to give yourself grace, start understanding and knowing your patterns. I know for me that I can kind of even tell my patterns. And whenever you've hit the wall, so often people will, and there is a time to push through. Absolutely. Yeah. But so often people will keep pushing and pushing and pushing. You never give yourself time to recover. And it's basically like, breaking your ankle and then continue to run on it because I said, no. Yeah. If you rest it, it will come back. You will do the appropriate things. You'll come back stronger, better, and ready. So there is absolutely, you got to give yourself grace to say, this is my wall. I'm going to lay in bed.
Nothing left.
And now the challenge is, and I bet that you probably had some negative self-talk during that day about, why don't I just go out and do that? Or were you okay?
Oh no, I was like calling my inner circle, going and I've called myself a liability that day probably 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to go on your appointments. I'm sorry. It's not that I don't want to. It's that I don't think I'm the best person for you right now. I was like, please call Sam. Sam took 2 or 3 appointments that I just passed on, and that was tough because if you know me, you know that I walk around with a swagger. Now that doesn't mean that I don't internally feel things, but like. People call me cocky and arrogant. That's not true. I'm just very sure of what I'm bringing to the table when I walk into a room.
Yeah.
So that was tough.
It's also, that's the cool part about having a team around you and hiring people that are better than you in their specialty. Because a lot of times, that's the other thing I see with business owners. They don't ever hire anybody and that can, even hang with them. And then what happens is they can't take a mental health day. They can't, because everything crumbles. Well, then that's not a business. You have to be able to count on your team members to say, hey, I got to tag you in here.
No, and I said that. It's funny that you said that because I literally said that to somebody. They were like, so what's going to happen to your business if you don't go to work today? I was like, nothing. I was like, do you know what my superpower is? I was like, look at my business partners. Like, look at those people. Those are studs. Like, I don't partner with C and D players just so that I can say, hey, look who's following me. Like, no, like, look at, like, I hang around like the Legion of Doom or the Super Friends, if you know who that is, and showing my 90s,
Yeah.
But I go to work with Catwoman and Superwoman and Superman, and that's who I work with. I work with superheroes.
Yeah.
So when you're hanging out with a bunch of A players and they care about you and you care about them and you know that they'd go to war for you and you go, hey, I'm out today.
Yeah.
And they go, hey, gotcha. Sam called me immediately and he's like, hey, like, I get it, dude. He's like, go take a break. We gotcha.
Yeah.
Multiple people on the team called me. Hey, you're good. Take your time. It'll be fine. We know you worked your ass off last week.
Yeah.
We know you're not being lazy.
That's right. So that's, so I love the fact that, because not everybody on the team knew that was going on. And so the fact that you brought that up on a call and said, hey, this is, and the thing is, it wasn't like this big, like, I don't even know that you recognized what you did for everybody, but by you saying, look, it was hard. I had this day and I didn't get out of bed till 10. It gives everybody else permission to go, oh, holy shit, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
Because like I was in, and I actually, one of the agents that recently came and joined the team, I was talking to her and she was like, I love those calls because I really, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
And she said she had had a tough week this week as well. And so she was like, so now, I'm able to hear and listen to, because we say the good and the bad, and
oh yeah, those calls have everything.
Yeah. So you have some people saying, hey, I went and I went on and I put 3 under contract today, or somebody else saying, I'm in negotiations. I lost. And yet you go, oh, okay, like this is real life, right?
Yeah.
You're not alone in this silo.
Yeah.
And so, because your environment matters. And so I think that made a big deal for everybody. And I know that was it last year or the year? Last year, I was in a room of 100, like when I say top producers, I mean across the whole U.S. And Gary had asked that question, or this was what was interesting. So Gary said this, and Gary Keller, he said, he told us, he said that with everything that had been going on, and of course the lawsuit and all that, he said, and then, COVID before that, he said, I found myself, he said, I'm not a nap taker. He said, I found myself taking a nap every day to get the energy to go back. And I thought, number one, that is so cool that it's so cool that he did that, but then he shared that with us, because I think so often we think we've got to be like this.
Yeah, I'm Superman. I'm perfect all the time, and you just need to follow me and be perfect too.
That's right.
And that's not the case.
When he asked this whole room full of people, how you got, how were you feeling, and how many of you guys felt like that, and people that would not have admitted it, I think, in another room out of fear of,
like, I've got to be this person.
Well, yeah. It's vulnerable to tell, like, to let people in, and he was like, look around, and we're all looking around, and we're like, man, so you can't pour out if your cup is empty. So, that goes back to, what is your energy plan? And everybody's energy plan doesn't have to be the same, but do you have an energy plan? Because if you don't, you can only have so many of those days where you don't, you know, and like the whole nap thing. I just turned 42. I could not count on the number of naps that I've had. But then I was going through some things, and somewhere between like 3 and 5, I was crashing and but all the time. And I was like trying to force through, and I was like, I'm just gonna take that. So taking naps, and I was like, holy, I felt better, and I was able to do more stuff. And then I was like, it's funny how we put these like superimpose things on us that aren't real.
Yeah.
Instead of listening to our body, listening to our mind, and like having an energy plan.
Yeah. No, and I notice sometimes in my day, like I will condense my work into the tightest time allowed, and then I will try to go do something fun or healthy for myself a few times a week. And I go like, okay, well, like you're off work at 3 or whatever, or people see me riding down the road on my scooter in the middle of the day. Like, by the way, I'm on the way to an appointment. Like, I'll go list $1 million house on the scooter. I'm a child. But you got to do those things for you. I said this earlier, like an empty cup can't pour into others. And if you're a leader, or if you're someone, I mean, honestly,
everybody's a leader. It just depends on where you're leading your family, you're leading yourself.
Everyone leads someone. And if you don't give yourself healthy outlets to recharge and plug in, you're going to crash. And not only that, you're going to struggle in your leader role.
Well, and also I think so. Like one of the other things we talk about patterns. So, I've been very upfront with, I was diagnosed with ADHD, I was not actually, I know people that weren't diagnosed till their 30s and 40s and 50s and beyond. I was diagnosed in my 20s. And, with that, anyway, so I've done lots of research.
How do I beat this in my work day?
I look at ADHD as it's a superpower. But at the same time, because I know somebody's going to listen to this and be like, oh, it is not a superpower. Like, because it is also soul crushing. Things that other people might just do without thinking, we might have to think about it, and so it just drains our power for anything. But I always look at it. What's that character in X-Men that he has to wear glasses because his
Cyclops.
Okay, Cyclops. So I want to think, so Cyclops, before he knew how to use his power, he would just destroy the world.
Yeah. He would just be like,
So before I understood ADHD and how to work with it and how to, it just would destroy your world. Where now that I'm learning, or now that I've learned, and I always continue to learn, because just like the market changes, if your body changes or this or that, then you got to figure something else out. But I look at it as, okay, now I have the glasses on and I can pull them off and I can very just straight hit that target. I can straight hit that target. And so, but you have to learn those things. And so what I know that I work really well in sprints, meaning I might do Monday and Tuesday, and there's no rhythm necessarily to this. I'm just using this as an example. Let's say that I will jump on something and I will do more in 2 days than other people can do in 2 weeks. And then I have to give myself permission on the other days to go, whoa, you did what you were supposed to do. You're ahead of the game. This isn't being lazy. This is you sprinted. You can only sprint so long before you have to walk, right? And so this is just that part of it. And so that's where I think about, understanding yourself and patterns and what works. Also, understanding that, anyway, so I won't go more into that. It's 100%. You have to give yourself the grace to go, where am I at? What am I doing? Is that working? Is that effective? And then just lean in. And that's the other reason why it's really important to have a game plan, because
especially if you're ADD.
Well, and with the game plan, one of the things when I work with clients, one of the first things we do is get a game plan, because I can't tell you how many entrepreneurs, they don't know. And obviously we all want to do better or do more or whatever, but there's a difference. If you just I want to do as much as I can. without something to hit, as much as you can means one, or it means none, because there's not but the best way I can explain this is I want to, like, our brain without a focusing point, it's like our brain, I want you to imagine like it's an octopus with tentacles, and it's out here like, where do I want to grab hold? Well, if I go, okay, look, this is the plan, and I need to be here by this date, or by this, well, I can back it up, look at my key metrics, and go, okay.
If I do these things, we can
get here. If I do these things, and I've exceeded it. Yeah. So, or I'm almost there, I need to make this adjustment, and now your brain has something to focus on, and amazing things happen, and you can let go of that feeling of, am I behind?
Yeah.
Which is not real anyways, and yet it's a real feeling.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, but then, so that we had the hard days, the 100-hour week, and then this week, we're going to work a lot too, but I had some really cool things happen inside the team, and this is part of like your tribe matters. And I will argue that being on a team or having a tribe is more important than ever today as a realtor. But Melinda called me, and I was going on an appointment for her yesterday.
She's your hype man,
yeah,
hype woman.
She really is. She's great. But she called me, and so Melinda will cuss, but she's not like
No, she's
mild to me. Like, well, okay, hold on. That she's not mild or me.
Yeah.
She is
she's a sweet person.
Just super loud. But she doesn't like cuss, and she's not overly like aggressive. Like she would never aggressively cuss.
Yeah.
Yeah. She might be like, well, damn, that hurt my feelings. But she's not going to be like, yeah. That's not her, right? So she's a Southern gal cusser, and so she calls me, and she's like, Harrison, she goes, I know you're struggling. She's like, you're going to go. And then she just stops and she goes, you're going to fucking kill this appointment. You need to walk in there like you own this listing. You need to go show them who you are, what you can do, and why they need to partner with you. And she's like, there's nobody better than you. Nobody's taken more listings. Nobody's done this better. Nobody's mastered it more. You got this, and they're lucky to have you in that room. And I was like, and she like blew more F-bombs. I think she even quoted some scripture somewhere in there. Like, it was weird. And like, I like it seriously, like, it was humbling because like, that's the kind of stuff that like I tell other people, and like she was like role reversal, right? And so like when the master becomes the student, it's a humbling place. And it meant a lot to me that someone on my team was like, hey, like you messed up a few times, or you made some mistakes, or some people decided that you weren't the fit, but you are the fit, and like you got this, and I believe in you, and I'm not afraid at all, because I was like, hey, look, if I fail this, like you don't get a paycheck. And she's like, no, I'm going to get a paycheck off this. She's like, I believe in you. I'm sending you on this listing appointment on purpose.
Yeah.
And we nailed it. So we got 4 in a row yesterday.
Well,
so my ego is back intact, baby.
Confidence is back. Well, and sometimes you gotta have win. Well, and this is the cool part is, so that's one of the reasons why she is so good at her job. So because she actually, this is the interesting thing, she spoke your language. We talked about that a lot in sales.
Mirror and matching,
right? Because like that's what you needed to hear to get. So she spoke your language. So that's such a powerful thing. We need to have her on, because again, you wouldn't like.
I didn't even think about that.
Oh,
that she
100%.
did. She spoke my high D, aggressive.
She used your word.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it resonated with you.
Fuck my word.
Not you don't say it a lot, but I mean when you're like passionate about something.
Oh yeah, because it's not. Yeah, when I blow an F-bomb, it is not like a F you.
Yeah, no.
It's like a let's go.
Yeah.
Like, I'm excited. I'm encouraging people with explicatives, which is, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that in my opinion.
No, well, it's a word. It's willpower to give it, and yet 100%. So I'm glad you mentioned that, and we're being able to, that right. That's a huge thing that so many people aren't able to do.
Yeah.
But you need to definitely we need to recognize her and point that out to the team, because that's also what she's doing when she's talking to people and setting appointments and things. She is not cussing, but she's talking their language.
Yeah,
she's mirroring matching. And that's why they, so that's just a huge part. Like, that's what she did for you, but that 100%, like, that's why she's good at what she does.
Yeah. All right, so let's move to the next thing, because this is what landed that fourth one. So every Friday we have a Zoom call. We call it the Rising Standard, but it's our, Wednesdays, we definitely do sales skills and what's going on in the market and all that stuff. But Fridays is specifically where Alivia will come in and she does production coaching and we say new agents or agents who are like really trying to ramp their production up or who are having some issues being motivated and accountability. But really it's for anybody. And I log into these calls as much as possible. And yesterday it was about communicating and asking questions, because I don't know if you know this, but if you're talking to somebody, it's not the person who is making statements at you or the person who is talking about themselves. Like, hey, Alivia, my name's Harrison, and I have all these big businesses, and look at my huge house and my cars in the driveway, and I have boats and jet skis, and like that person.
Nobody cares.
Yeah, that's right. Like that is, you're not owning a conversation. You're just talking, and nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
And
well, you're not connecting.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
meaningful. The big. Yeah. You're not connecting. Well, and it also depends on like if I'm looking to learn from you or to continue a conversation with you, I'm going to ask about you. I'm going to ask things, and you're going to feel connected to me, and you're going to feel great.
Yeah, because that person's interested in me. They think I'm pretty. They think I'm funny.
Yes.
They think I'm a leader. And the person who asks the questions is the person who controls the conversation.
And if flip side, like if I'm the agent and or the salesperson, and all I'm doing is selling, and telling you all about me, what I'm actually saying is I'm not paying attention to you enough to care about what you say because I already know everything and I'm good. So sometimes we can inadvertently set ourselves up to lose because we're not over there with the other person.
Yeah.
They don't. What's that saying? They don't know how much you care, and they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Yeah.
Correct. And so I had already been on all 4 listing appointments and hopped on that call late, and so I got to hear kind of the end of it. And Alivia was challenging everybody to ask questions, ask more questions, ask why that matters to them, ask what's important to them about this and that, and just continue to ask and be in learning mode about someone at all times.
Stay in curiosity.
Yeah, and so I had already been on all 4 listing appointments, but had not done the pricing consultation for that one yet. And I noticed when I got on the phone with her the first time to get access to the house because she was out of town, we didn't connect. Like I could tell, like if me and her were in the same room, we probably wouldn't pick each other to be friends. We have different personality profiles. And I was like, all right, like tone yourself down. A, mirror and match her personality. And B, let's ask questions. Let's figure out what is important. So before I made one statement, I thanked her for her time, let her know how much I appreciated the opportunity. And then I just began asking questions. She was listed on the market previously. How was that experience? What would you change about that experience? What's important to you about hiring the right agent this time?
Yeah.
I noticed that you had it listed at this price. Now, their price was 100% wrong.
80% of marketing is price.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I said, may I ask, was that your price? Was that an appraisal? Was that your last agent? Who came up with that price, and what was important about that price to you? And I probably asked, I kid you not, 20 to 25 questions before I made any statements. And I said, well, hey, I'm about to give her name away. I can't do that. I said, if I were to be able to get your house where it needed to be price-wise, and you net the amount that you needed in net, which you already told me, and I was able to hit that number, would you do business with me? And so I never actually even made a statement in the whole 10-minute phone call. And she was like, yeah, but I want to call you back. And I knew it was about commission because I asked for X bananas. And when she called me back 30 minutes later, she goes, I loved everything that you said, but I'm not willing to pay that many bananas. Will you take this many bananas? And I said, if you'll allow me to augment the marketing plan and that's comfortable for you, then yeah, let's do business. And she said, cool, here's my email address, send me the paperwork. Yeah. And so that we locked down for that day. And so in the Friday call, so we do that Tell Me Something Good call, at THLT every Friday afternoon, it's not about business. It's about what went right in your life. What are we appreciative of? What are we thankful for? It may be somebody on the call. It may be our spouses, our children, whatever it is. And then mine was never being too good to go back and learn the basics.
Well, and to me, it's the fundamentals, because when we say basics, and it is the basics, people tend to, no, the fundamentals, like they never change. You always have to keep that. Like if you go to build a house, don't care how many houses you build, if you don't build the foundation right,
the rest of it won't, like, it will fall. It will. And that's, one of the most legendary football coaches of all time is Vince Lombardi. And how did he start his spring training every single year?
Was it, this is a sock? Let me teach you how to put your socks on. No, that's the basketball coach. Sorry, that was not. There's a basketball coach, Goodwin, not Goodwin. Oh my gosh!
So I didn't know that was a thing, but
oh yeah, I can't. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I can't remember it. But anyways, there's a basketball coach that he literally teaches college players who've been playing all their life how to put their sock on, because you know what will prevent them from winning? Somebody has a blister.
Yeah,
and you go breathe like it.
It's true.
Oh my gosh, why can't I think? John. I keep wanting to say Goodwin, and that's not his name. Anyways, continue.
So he says
that I am. It's bothering me.
Ladies and gentlemen, she just said John Madden. Rest in peace, sir. Rest in peace. He's a football announcer.
Yeah. That's I know it's not who I meant.
Yeah. And so Vince Lombardi is a football coach.
Yes.
Or was a football coach, and he started out to professional football players, the people who have mastered the skill. They're playing at the highest level that football is played in the entire world. And he says, gentlemen, this is a football. And everybody's like, of course it's a football. But no, we got to get to the basics. We have to put one foot in front of the other in our steps. We have to relearn how to throw a ball correctly. We have to relearn how to catch a ball correctly. Because in our mastery phase, we often get sloppy.
Yeah.
I think that anyone who looked at my numbers and my sales in real estate would say he's at mastery level. And yet, I promise you that if you went on an appointment with me, you'd be like, somebody forgot to walk straight, because we do. We go, well, I'm Harrison. I'm awesome. Like, I can do whatever I want and still get this.
It's just like, it becomes rote, right? It becomes rote. It's like, I already do this, I do this, I do this. And yeah, it's the reason why professional golfers are professional basketball players, professional baseballers, like, or matter of fact, if you haven't had an opportunity, there is a, you may know his name, but he is he rides bulls.
I don't know his name.
So it is so funny to watch him, because he does old school. He doesn't wear the hat. He smokes cigarettes. All this stuff that's like bad for professional athletes.
The Marlboro Man? Is that who it is?
But the interesting thing though, if you find out what he does, like, he works on his balance. I never thought about a professional rodeo player working on their balance, but like getting on a balancing ball and
it's the basics. Like, if you don't have great balance, you're gonna suck at bull riding.
And he's like the oldest bull rider that's still winning stuff, or hasn't retired. And it's so funny, because if you look at him, you'd be like, oh, he's just a redneck cowboy thing, and yet he is masterful at his piece. So that goes back to, are you masterful at your piece? What is that small thing that you're working on? I think of myself, I think I'm a pretty good coach. And I promise a day or a week doesn't go by that I'm not going, yeah, that was sloppy. Or I asked that question, or I caught myself not hearing them. So now I'm in my head about what question should I ask? And so, it's, are you mastering it? Because it is so easy to go, well, I got it. Well, yeah, and you might be amazing, but to stay there, what's that little tweak? What's that little tweak? What's that little tweak? It's that compound effect. And, it's so very important.
Yeah.
I actually, after that conversation, I did so I was looking at how do we teach that? Because a lot of people say, ask great questions. Okay. Well, if you don't naturally do that, and I don't, that's a skill that I've had to learn. If you don't naturally do that, how do you do that? And so and I'm going to share this next week. But it's there's a system. I'm big into systems and models, and it's inquire, follow up, relate. So if you're like, well, how do I ask a great question, or how do I continue the conversation? You're gonna inquire. So and you want an open-ended question. So it might be something like, you actually gave a great one when you asked her the question about being on the market. you said, where were you, what was your experience like when you were on the market before? That's an open-ended question, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
What was your experience
Her
like?
experience may have been great, even though her house didn't sell. Like, there's great failed sales, you know.
Well, and if you would have said, "Did you have a good experience?" That's a yes or no. We don't. So you inquired, "How was your experience?" She said, and then you follow up with.
Yeah, well, I mean, she led me down the road of like, oh, well, I'm not really sure how it went, and I was like, oh, so do you think there may have been some communication issues?
So now right now we followed up, and then if we were going to make a statement, and we don't always have to, but if you're, especially if you're like, because you were also in a conversation, like you needed to inquire, right? But if for ever any reason you kind of get stuck and you don't want to feel like you're interrogating them, inquire, follow up, relate, and then inquire, follow up, relate, inquire, follow up, relate. So it's all of every third thing. Are you saying something that is a statement, and it's typically relating to what they said? So if I inquire, it's simple as tell me about what have you been doing today? And let's say that you said working.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people don't know that you're actually curious, and so I'm going to stay in curiosity. And I say, so what's
a work day for you look like?
What does a work day for you look like? Now he knows I'm actually, and so now he shares something, and now.
Oh, me too. Oh,
That's so interesting. That's how I landed into that.
We're the same.
And then you inquire.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a really cool way of, because people say that, but like I like the system if you're learning how to do it.
Yeah. But no, I mean, questions can change your relationship with people very easily, and it also gets you where you want to go.
Well, yeah, well, like, and that's something that communication, because a lot of times we talk about sales skills. All sales skills is communication skills. Mm-hmm. So if I don't know what's important to you, I don't know what I can do to help you. I don't even know that what I have to offer would benefit you. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if I want to work with you. Mm-hmm. So, but if I ask questions, then I'm going to talk to you about the thing that matters to you versus the thing that matters to me.
Yeah. Can I break this down on a kindergarten level?
Totally.
Okay, let's just, like, we're going to keep this in our world of real estate, but me not having answers to any of those questions you just said would be the equivalent of me going, hey, can I put a sign in your ground and list your house? Mm-hmm. Right? I have no knowledge of what's important to you about selling your house, where you're going, what your timeline is, how much money you need, right? Without asking effective questions, you can't effectively be a consultant, which means you will likely be a very skinny salesperson.
Well, and the thing is, this goes everywhere. Can you imagine if you walked in, you want to go even more kindergarten? So I wear contacts. I am blind as a bat. I can't see you.
If you can't see me, you are literally blind.
Oh, yeah. Like, you look like ants on TV, back in the old days. Like, I could not tell who you were this close to you. Mm. So, but could you imagine if I went to the doctor and I said, or the eye doctor, I said, hey, I can't see. And the eye doctor said, okay, well, here. And he takes off his glasses, he cleans them up, and he gives them to me and goes, you should be good now. And I put them on and I go, no, doctor, I still can't see. Mm-hmm. And he goes, well, I don't know why. It worked for me.
Yeah.
How often do we do that stuff to our kids and our family and everybody else? Yeah. It worked for me. You're fine. And you're like, but I still can't see. Yeah. Well, you just need to try harder.
Yeah. You're putting somebody into a U-size box.
Yes.
Yeah.
And by not asking the questions and finding out. So what is the saying? No diagnosis without no prescription without diagnosis, right? Mm-hmm. Like, so are you asking the question so that you can write the correct script for that person?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I agree with that. Can we talk about pricing houses?
We can. Are you you're still good? Because it's like 11:30 and you usually by this time you're squirming.
I'm good right now.
You're having a good conversation?
We started late.
Yeah, not that late.
Like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You were late.
I was late.
You were late.
I did stay integrity because I called him and let him know.
Is that state of integrity?
It is. Because you can't control everything.
What were you doing?
Well, I could have controlled some of it.
What was important to you about that?
Yes.
Me too.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what is, okay, so pricing.
Yeah. So and the number one, like, people are talking about how slow the market is and how buyers aren't out there. Let me tell you something. We have buyers. We have lots of buyers, but they're not seeing value. And this is, and this is just my professional opinion based on my experience in this market, because I go on a lot of listing appointments, and some of them are sphere appointments and past client referrals, and those are typically easy because they know who I am.
They know and trust you.
They
based on your
trust me.
experience.
I have a track record with them. You know, I'm sponsoring their kids' baseball teams, like those kind of things. And so when I walk in, like, I don't have to do a lot of convincing to get them. They know who I am and what I do, and that I'm pretty good at this. And going on competitive appointments is a little bit different, because there's two things in play here. I mean, well, three, I would say. Is one's connection. Do we connect at all? Number two is commission. Am I willing to take what they're willing to pay? And are they willing to pay what I'm willing to take? And then the last, and this is funny enough, I'm not struggling on the first two. Commission and connection has not really been the issue. Price has been the biggest issue in houses here lately. I think there's a lot of key factors to that. Number one, we just got out of forbearance. A lot of people did not pay their mortgage notes when they didn't have to. They didn't need the forbearance. They were just like, oh wait, I can get $1,500 a month back into my budget. Now I can go afford this really nice car. Well, then Uncle Sam comes back and goes, hey, no more forbearance. When you guys pay your notes again. Well, now they had this big ass car note. Have you seen how many $100,000 vehicles are riding around? Mm-hmm. Well, I know what some of you people do. And either you inherited a lot of money, won the lottery, or you spent your mortgage note on that car. And
things happen.
Well, no, and I'm not judging you for it. And yeah, we get to that listing point and they're like, well, no, I need this. And I'm like, okay, well, that's like $40,000, $50,000 over what your home is viably worth.
Well, see, and that's the interesting thing is when we look at pricing a home, there are certain things that we cannot take into account. How much, how much we're going to take into account because we care about you, but like it doesn't do anything for the price, meaning what you want, what you would like to have. All of those things are somewhat irrelevant, meaning like if this is worth 12 bananas, it doesn't matter that I also did this and the market shifted and I still want 30 bananas. I have to decide, am I going to sell it at a price that will, put it in a price that will cause it to sell, or am I okay waiting potentially 5, 10, 15 years for the market to catch up with your price.
Yeah. And so I think forbearance is one of the big issues. I think the people have not come to terms with the fact that the market has now changed. This is, unless you're in a unique property, likely not the time to be pushing price in your subdivision or your area, wherever it is.
Well, yeah, for so long we had, because I remember this happened back in 2008 and things like, and this market corrects itself, right? Like whenever, for so long, I remember when I first got in the market, we literally could list a house and it did not matter what price we put on it. If it was worth, if the value, an appraiser, whatever, would say that it was worth $200,000, we could put it on the market at, and this is the other thing, we could put it on the market at $225 or $250, and people would come in and they would either not make an offer, or at that time, it wasn't, they would make an offer and expect somebody to come down, $15,000, $20,000. And that was kind of like the norm. Well, the interesting thing is that is not the norm anymore. Now, if you don't price it where it will sell, you see more houses selling for list price, maybe a little bit above or a little bit below, because what we've discovered is if it's too far out of like let's say that the house we'll use the $225,000 is where it will sell for. Buyers are pretty savvy. If you've got it priced at $275,000, they're like, I don't even want to go look at it because I don't want, you're going to be like, you offended me when you offered me the price. So you're not even getting the look.
Well, and you're asking them to face possible rejection. what is the number one thing that humans don't want to feel? We will go into a turtle shell to make sure that we don't feel rejection. And so people go, well, we can always come down, or people can always make an offer and we can negotiate. And yet, with the advances in modern technology and all these auto pricers auto pricers get somewhat close. Now, I've seen them $100,000 off, so they're not always right. But I will go and I will go price a house manually, my old school way. And then I will go look at auto pricers and I will use their comps and look at their adjustments and go, okay, some of these are pretty good.
Yeah. Well, and what's interesting is, but that's the other thing sellers sometimes don't realize is, let's say that you price your house way out of the market. Again, buyers are savvy, their agents are savvy.
Hopefully.
You could potentially help other houses sell, because they're going to look at your house and they're going to say, people buy, they're going for value. And so they look at the house and go, you got great, but for that price, the value's not there. But if we go right down the road, we can look at this price and that value. So now they've used your house as a comparison to sell that house.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You don't want to go on the market and help other people sell their house.
Yeah.
So, so you have to be really cognizant. So when you're talking with an agent, any agent, and they, let them show you what the market will bear. Y'all discuss that, because ultimately it's you own the property. You can price it wherever you want to price it. And yet make really certain that agent isn't doing what we call buying the listing, meaning like you say 300 and it really should be around 250. And they go, great, they take your listing because they know that they're going to ask you to do a price reduction in 2 weeks, 30 days, etc. Or they just want to put their, they want to be able to market your property and get more buyers. That's not in your best interest. Now, and I would say that not every agent that does this is it's just part of their process, because they're maybe tired of having the conversation. It's a tough conversation to have with somebody, because we don't like to be rejected. And to tell somebody, I get that that's what you want, but the house is worth this. You've got to be really skilled to have that conversation with someone.
Yeah, it's a crappy conversation. It's not fun, because you never want to make somebody wrong. Hear me when I say, the last thing I want to do is walk into your house and insult you and be like, you're incompetent. No, it's not that. I want to go, hey, let me show you why I think what I think. And then at the end of this conversation, if we can even get close to this, let's do business together,
Yeah.
But I wish I could just give all of my knowledge to sellers sometimes and go, this is what overpricing your house does to your home. We're going to cost yourself holding costs. If you have a mortgage, utilities, insurance, blah, 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 you're going to, if you overprice your house by $10,000 in your house and your mortgage note is $2,000 a month, in 3 months, between utilities, repairs, and your mortgage notes, that $10,000 costs you $10,000 because you're likely coming back down anyway.
Well, and that's the other thing is, and you know what, this week I'll do when I do the weekly market, I'll do it around pricing. And so that is something that sellers, we can say, maybe they're watching that and they can look at that and learn some pieces, because it is so, it's so important. And this is the interesting thing. And I think sometimes people don't realize the way that we price a house it's a skill. It is a learned skill. It is.
And it ever changes. I had my COVID pricing down to a T. It was perfect. We go into this new market and I was like, I don't know how to price houses anymore. Me and Sam got together and we're like, hey, we need to really think about our system and our process here, because this is no longer how we price houses anymore.
Yes.
We had to change our system up.
Well, so when we price house, it is strategic. It is, so we're studying things. So for instance, let's say, again, I'm stuck on this number. So let's say it's 225 and this across the board. Let's say that the house, we pull the value, we do all our things, and the house, looks like it would be about 218. Well, then I'm going to look at what is the market happening above that price point and below, because in all honesty, 218 actually pricing at 218 might hurt us. I might price it at 225, knowing that that's where the buyers are looking. So we have more eyeballs on your house. So it's not we're not just we aren't just doing a price and hoping it works. No, there is a theory and a reason behind that particular price.
Absolutely, yes. Yes. I want to give a story about that, actually. Is Alivia doesn't sell, but it was like, I don't know, what, 3-4 years ago, you were like, hey, I'm going to get back into production just a little bit, and do that. And you did, and you took an expired listing in Frenchman's Bend. And at the time, Frenchman's Bend this was pre-COVID, so this wasn't 3 years ago.
No,
this was 5-6 years ago. Yeah. You took a listing in Frenchman's when Frenchman's had like 75 listings in it. People were having to give away their houses to get out. They were doing short sales. They were having to cash in their 401ks to buy themselves out. And Alivia got that expired. I didn't go on the appointment, but I remember seeing it on the market and going, house is overpriced, it's not going to sell.
I remember because you and one other big agent told me that.
I called you, and when it sold, and I just was, I got to know. Like, I need you to tell me what your methodology was there. And you said, well, I looked at the absorption rate below 300 and above 300, and the below 300 isn't selling, and above 300 buyers are still buying over there. So I went to this specific price based on this competition model, and I was like, holy shit, like that is some mastery level. And I'm a newer agent 6 years ago, and I was like, putting that tool in my toolbox now. When houses won't sell, I start to look at absorption rate and see the comps may not matter as much, because we just need a contract, and we'll let the appraiser do the comps, right?
That's right. And that's actually interesting enough. That's a conversation, because again, I'm very much about being transparent with the seller. Mm-hmm. So I explained that to the seller so that they didn't think that I was saying, oh, the value's here. Well, and we still sold, but we just still sold a lot higher, because I've also had clients that the flip side of that, they're like, well, I really want this price. And I'm like, you want that price? Okay, so we need to price it here. And they're like, but no, people are going to negotiate us down. And I'm like, no. If, and I can't ever guarantee a multiple, but I've studied the market, and based on this, if you price your house here, we're going to go under contract in the first 2, 3, 4 days. It depends on the market and everything. Mm-hmm. But let's say this particular market I was talking about, we're going to go under contract, and we're going to have multiple offers, which is going to drive the price up as high as it can go. Now, in our area, I'll use one example of this. It was also in Sterlington, but so as high it would go was only like 5,000 or 6,000 at that point above. Mm-hmm. And I remember, and that guy actually ended up becoming a real estate agent, and he's amazing, but that's what we did. So we priced it here. Mm-hmm. We ended up being the highest one, because that first 3 days is so important. Those buyers that are already in the market, they see everything, and they're like, and they jumped on it.
New inventory, attracted, let's go.
And so they actually increased, and the seller said, well, did you think we priced it too low because we had those 3 offers? And I said, no. I get why you would think that. I said, but let me ask you this. Do you think that the reason why those people went higher is because I got that first offer, I knew those other 2 were coming in, and so I called the first offer and said, hey, just to let you know, we got somebody that also wants to bring an offer. Then I called that third one and said, hey, I called everybody that showed the property. And so I said, now they know they're competing against one another. Do you think they're bringing us a negotiating price, or are they bringing us their best price? And so then we had 3 offers, and then we decided to negotiate with one, and because they had the best, and so we drove the price. I said, no, you got the maximum. I said, if we would have priced the house even 5,000 or 10,000 above, and it would sit on the market a little longer, and even if we had that buyer, they wouldn't have brought their highest and best, so we still potentially would have went lower than that price. So you have to know that, because that strategy doesn't work in every market.
That's right.
You've got to know the market, and that's where people I think don't always realize that when we're pricing a home, we're not an appraiser. Our job is not just to figure out the value.
Yeah. It's what will make a buyer write a contract.
That's right.
That's what we're trying to figure out. Is buyer behavior is what we're really studying in pricing homes.
It really is, because this is the other interesting thing when you look at that is, I have absolutely been in markets where somebody's like, well, I have an appraisal of this. And I said, look, the value, your house will appraise for that every day. Mm-hmm. And in this market, a buyer won't give you but this, which is sometimes a lot lower. And I'm like, now I get it. I'm not like, your house is amazing. And you overbuilt for the subdivision, or Now the mortgages is changed and they can't, but like there's so many reasons. So it's not just pulling comps like an appraiser and going, well, this is the value.
No. What will buyers pay for houses like this in this market? My best example of that is I went on an appointment for a very high profile person in town. And he said, here's my appraisal and this is what I want for it. And I said, I can't hit your number. I said, look, I respect you. I really want to be your realtor. I was relative, I think it was my third year at this point, and I was like, I really want to be your realtor. Like, it would mean a lot for me to say that I got to be your realtor. This is a big name, okay? And I said, but I can't list your house for that because integrity says that I have to be honest with you, and I can't sell your house for anywhere near that price.
I'd rather turn you down now than let you down later.
He went through 2 realtors, maybe it was 1. He at least went through 1 realtor, and house didn't sell, and there was no like told you so or anything like that. He called me back and he goes, Harry, so what will my house sell for? I said, let me come back to the house. It's been a year, let me come back. And so I go back and I look at the house and I said, I can sell it for somewhere between $625 and like $640. Then he goes, well, you take my listing at $650. And I was like, yeah, I'll take your listing at $650. There's a range there.
We're also not magicians. Like we don't, that's
I'm not Jesus. Like your house is going to sell for $231,050. Like I don't know. But his appraisal was for $730, and so you're talking about a
big
$80,000 to $100,000 segue in what me and him are talking about.
Yeah.
And we went on the market, and guess what happened? Well, we sold for like $640 something.
Yeah.
And some change, right?
Yeah.
And I had to explain to him the difference in appraisal and what buyers will pay. Now, I've also done the opposite.
I've had low appraisals and say, no, you can get more.
Yeah. And I just did it a few weeks ago in a down market. They had an appraisal for $200,000, and I said, I'm going to beat the mess out of this appraisal. And at that point, when you tell them, like, they ran all their pro formas on, that 200 number, and they're like, well, we know Harrison's going to charge this, and this is what we'll net. And I was like, oh, I'm going to beat the living mess out of that number. Like, we're going up. And we went, and not only did we go up from the appraisal, I got multiple offers. We got them over full price, no concessions. And like, that's how you champion clients, is about being the expert in your market. The other thing that overpricing caused, the first thing we talked about was, holding costs, and people don't factor that in enough. The next thing is opportunity cost.
Yes.
Where do you need to be? When do you need to be there by? What does that mean to you? This is why asking powerful questions is super important before getting into a business relationship with somebody. And, is it the school zone? Is it a special needs kid? Is it a relationship? Like, what is the opportunity that overpricing may cost us? And the third thing, the big factor of overpricing is chasing the market.
Chasing it down.
That's right.
It's hard to catch up.
Yeah, you've said this 2 or 3 times so far, and we'll say it another 100 times until everybody understands that it's real. Is your first few days on the market are absolutely the most influential days. It's going to be the pace setting for how your sale will go or will not go. Your first 30 days are still mega important. Once you get past that 30, 45-day mark, you're kind of old inventory at this point. And you're hoping that a new buyer comes to the market and they're like, I guess I'll take that one.
Well, that's the interesting piece. Once you've been on them, because if you think about it, if you go on the market, everybody, whether they come out and look at it or not, everybody that's currently on the market, they looked at it online, they've driven past it. Some of them came in. Because sometimes people get excited. Well, I had 10 people coming to my house.
Congrats. How many of them are in contract?
If nobody wrote an offer, what really just happened was 10 people came into your house and said,
not worth it.
I'm not willing to pay it. Heck, I'm not even willing to give you a low offer. So 10 people just told you that the price is wrong. Now, this is the thing. So now you've got to do a price adjustment. And a lot of times this is where people chase the market. They go, well, I'm going to do 2,000 or 5,000 or 10,000 or maybe even 25,000 if they're at a higher price point. The challenge is, if you think about people buy in price points, right? So let's say it's a $600, or a $500,000 buyer. They get pre-qualified or pre-approved, or in their head they're going to buy for probably $500 or $550.
Yeah.
Well, if you put it at $545, and then you're like, well, okay, it didn't sell. We had 10 people come, so and you want to jump it down to $535. Guess what? The same people are looking at your property. You got to get it to the next price point of where buyers look.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's $50,000 or $25,000. So unless you bring it all the way there, nobody new was seeing your house.
Yep.
Because the people that were just a little bit away from being willing to make you an offer, they would have made you an offer.
That's right. You reminded me of my favorite. I'm so glad you reminded me of that. That was so good. One of my favorite scripts growing up in this business for price reductions was, like my job as a realtor is, obviously like it's to help you price it right and marketing plan and all that stuff. But you can judge me by the amount of showings I get you. And that's not always the case if you make me take a crappy price. But, if I can get you 15, 20 showings, the words to a seller are very simple. I had 15 people come through your house. That means that the Google ads, the social ads, the production, all that stuff lined up and it worked.
My marketing did an amazing job.
Yeah. And yet we had 10 to 15 people in here. We have 0 offers, not even a low one. When you say not even a low one, you go, pause, not even a low one. You drop that tonality and let them feel that, like, hey, that whole price high and come down thing, it's costing us money. It's costing us opportunity. It's costing us holding. What else is it going to cost us? Because let's talk about chasing this market down. Now we're on the market for 5, 6, 7 months. And we're going, well, all of our neighbors have sold at X price. Yeah, but they're not still inventory. People aren't asking questions about what's wrong.
What's wrong? Why hasn't anybody else sold it?
Yeah. I see that there is a small non-structural crack in the brick. It must have foundation issues.
That's why it hasn't sold.
Yeah. What are they hiding?
Yeah.
Right.
People. And the thing is people are being bad. That's just a natural thought.
Yeah.
So that was, I remember one time you and I went on a listing appointment together because I had the relationship and this was years ago and you were going to take the listing and I
remember the house. I sold it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then but we were, when you were pricing it and the price they wanted and the price and it made my heart happy because you've used it and because we were
fun of me. Huh? You made fun of me. I specifically remember this moment. It's etched into my memory.
So they wanted this price, and we knew that it would be this price, and they wanted to price it and come down. But they were also their opportunity cost was there was a very sick person in this. It was like they were dying. Now, not the person we were talking to, but the spouse, and so we were not willing to not put them in the strongest position. And so the line is, and I 100% believe this, I'd rather turn you down now, or I'd rather you get 10 offers that you don't accept than not get one.
That's right.
Because we can't negotiate with what we don't have.
That's
and
right.
So, and that was the key change to that because it's not, it's.
Yeah, if price is keeping buyers out of your house, if it's keeping them from writing offers, then you have to make that adjustment quickly, or you're going to become that stale inventory, and then you get into that chasing the market thing, and you go, we have to go now below market value to garner interest, because in order for somebody to buy your property, they need to feel like they stole it.
Well, absolutely. Well, and this is the interesting thing. You had mentioned that about the client that called you. One of my favorite clients, Roy Gavin and his wife, they don't live in this area anymore, and this area suffers because they don't live here. They were just amazing people. And my brother had sold him the house years prior, before I got into real estate. And then I got into real estate and they needed to sell their house. And I put it on the market, and but they weren't willing to put in the price. And so they also had some things change when they're in their his job situation. So they were like, hey, we're gonna stay, and we're gonna stay in the house. No problem. We withdrew it, pulled up a sign. About a year later, I saw it on the market with somebody else, and I also saw the price, and I saw everything about it, and oh man, and I was like, hey, if they can get it though, because he's doing something I ain't, but that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, of course, it doesn't sell, and so he called my brother and was like, is Alivia mad at me because I didn't list with her, but we just thought we would try this because we really need that. And Wayne's like, I promise you, she's not mad at you. Just call her. And he called me and he was like, hey, it expired. It didn't sell. Will you sell it for us? And I was like, absolutely. I get it.
I'm honored that you called me.
Yeah,
yes,
and
absolutely.
look, if you you literally if somebody else can get you that, well, you should do that, because I don't want to. It's, to me, it's how do you put the most money in your pocket? The challenge is they might be selling you smoke and mirrors, and so they came back. We listed it. They did what I asked. We sold it. They got to move out of state. He ended up again, amazing people. But that's the whole thing is you have to have a realtor that is willing to, and I think this is in every business thing. You got to have somebody that's willing to tell you the truth. And if it is proper and necessary for them to push back, you got to have somebody that's willing to have those conversations with you. I love what you said when when you list a property, you're going into business with that person.
Yeah.
Does this person have the knowledge, the understanding, the track record of a business person? Because if they don't, you might be setting yourself up for something that in the long run, it's going to cost you more.
Yeah. I mean, I liken that into my first year. So my first year of real estate, I didn't have, I mean, the coaching I had was like general stuff that was available in the market center, but I couldn't afford coaching. I did my best with what I had, right?
Yep.
And I think I took 18 listings that year. Do you know how many of them sold?
Yeah.
How many people did I cost money? Because A, I didn't have the skills, but B, didn't know how to communicate. Even if I did have the skills, I was just happy to get the sign in the yard. That was it. And to be clear, if you only sell 4 out of 18 listings, you didn't make any money. You might as well have not taken any listings, because the cost of 18 listings versus what you made off of 4.
You paid to be in the business that year. I don't.
I mean, I net money that year. I mean, that was my rookie. That was my big rookie. I mean, I sold 41 houses that year, but the majority
you
of
didn't make money on the listings. Is
no, I lost money on that. Like after I calculated it, my money. So I grossed like 121, and I think I net like somewhere in the 81 or 79, somewhere in that mark. And that was off of 41 transactions. It was also because I didn't know how to charge people, because I was like, I just want to try, and I tried on other people's wallets, and I kind of feel sorry for those people.
Yeah. Well, and it's true. Like in other professions, if you think about a doctor, they don't just go, okay, you've got your license, go cut that person open and do surgery. No, they go they apprentice, they watch one, and what is it? Watch one, do one, teach one, and all that stuff, right? And that's a huge piece. I know, in my first year, thankfully, I had Chuck was my older brother, but he was my mentor and coach. So I got to have those conversations with him about pricing, because he was really, not just pricing, but like the industry he knew. So I had that person, that go-to, as well as and he was paying for a coach for me at the time. So 100%. So, and of course, people's backgrounds matter and things like that, but just ask yourself the question, when I go into business with this person, do I think that they make good business decisions? And now, does this person have to be great at, everything? No, I'm just saying, it matters who you're in business with. And when you list your house with somebody, when you work with somebody as a buyer, yes, we have a friendly relationship. It's also about business.
Yes.
Like most of my clients, I'm not very go hang out with people. So we probably aren't going and having drinks and hanging out at each other's houses.
Yeah.
There's some agents that do that and are very professional in business. It's just different behavioral styles.
Yeah.
But 100%, I'm your consultant. I am going to tell you what you need to hear, even if you don't want to hear it. Back in, I think about when the market crashed in that 07, 08, there would be people that across the table, and this is the cool part, it came back, but where they were, they were talking about selling, and we would ask questions. And so why is it that you want to sell? So tell me what that's going to do for you. And then I would give them the advice of, look, I can sell it, but if you sell it today, you're going to bring a check to closing, and a big one.
Yeah. Your check needs to match your motivation.
Yes. And so, and now if you're motivated, there were certain people that they were like, no, that I've got to get out. And we go, okay. But there was other people I said, now, cause maybe their motivation wasn't that motivated. And I'd say, okay, then, while I don't have a crystal ball, I can't tell you exactly when, but if you have the ability, or you can stay here for a few more years, and it might be 3, 4, 5, 10. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. we might want to just table this and revisit it later. And they were like, hey, I appreciate that. Because to me, that was more important. And it's not just about that one deal.
You did your fiduciary duty. You said, hey, I'm going to put your needs and your goals above mine. Now, if you want to sell it, I would love to be your agent.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, like if you
need
have
to know
the
what you're
ability to
getting
hang tight
into.
for a little bit, that's what I would do. I mean, I'd tell people that pretty frequently. Like, I don't want to be a sign pusher. I want to be that person that somebody goes, I'm really glad I chose Harrison.
That's right. Well, I want to create a business relationship that lasts for a long time. That, you come to me and you're like, when you're looking for, the truth, and I'm going to pull market stats, I'm going to have the conversations with you. And ultimately at the end of the day, you get to make the decision. And I just want to make sure you have all the information in order to make the best decision.
Yeah. No, and it's for that reason that, some of the clients who sing my praises the most are expireds and withdrawals from other agents, because they've had the vanilla and the chocolate experience, and they're like, whew, like that's a different experience. This is a professional organization. There was an attorney I got an expired off of, and his house didn't sell with somebody else, and I can tell that he was apprehensive to work with us. But I had to go, and this is outside of our scope, but I helped him evict the tenant. I helped him get his property completely cleaned up, which that is actually inside my scope because I do that for people. But we walked him all the way, like it wasn't from A to B, it was A to Z through sale. And at the closing table, and this is an older attorney, apparently one of my business partners knows him, and he was like, yeah, dude, that dude is like, he's solid. So if he said something nice to you, he meant it. And he goes, Harrison, I want to tell you something. He goes, I have never had any respect for realtors. He goes, quite frankly, I think that you guys are overpaid, and I don't think you work for your money. It's just free money for you guys. He goes, you're the first realtor that I feel like you have earned every penny of that check. And if I were to sell my house, I think he has a house on Caney or something like that. He said, if I were to sell my house, you're the only realtor that I would sell for moving forward. And I was like, but they have to have that other experience in order to know what a good or great experience is. And I'm like, it's not always a great experience. Like we're human and we mess up. But we do strive for that, and our systems are set up for that.
Yeah. Well, and I think that the difference is we can't control everything. Everything we can control is going to be a good experience. And the pieces that we can't control, we're going to walk with you. We're not going to abandon you. We're going to have the conversations that need to be had with everybody. Yep. I think that's the big take. But yeah, like, and it's funny. That's the same. Like, I remember this one gentleman, and he's since passed away. But whenever I left, this would have been, we were at another big firm. And when we left and started a different firm over here, we had like 80 something listings. And that firm said, you can't take your listings. And we're like, but they're ours, but technically they're the broker. So like we stepped out and we were like, oh, that.
Starting from the bottom.
And, yeah. So we had to like let them know that, hey, you can't come with us and da-da. And there was this one gentleman, and he cracks me. It was just amazing because he was like, well, they can't do that. I picked you. I didn't pick them. Like, because I had called him. And he's like, I don't know those people. And I was like, look, I get it. And I wish I could, but we can't. So, they're going to have somebody contact you. And I've asked him to make sure that it's somebody that, he had a farm type thing. I said that somebody has experience with this. Because ultimately, I didn't want to jack with their stuff because of my stuff. That's not fair. Yeah. And he said, and he had help, calling him and saying, you will not. He said, I think what you're doing is wrong. I will not work with you. And he sit in his house until the contract expired. He wouldn't let him out. And then he called me, and I think he ended up selling it like, he ended up selling it like, after the contract, or he found somebody not through them, or when he sold it, but outside of them. So he was like, you withdraw me. I went Walmart, but he called me and talked to me about it. But it was like, that to me, and then I helped him buy the next one. But to me, and again, I know there were lots of people that they had to stay on the market. I'm fine with that. Yes. And yet, but then whenever the next time they bought or sold, they came with me to the other company. But it's that. That's what I like, is when I make such a difference in somebody's life that like we're. At least in that relationship, like they know that I'm their person. Yeah. That's the way
you want to feel at the end of a great business
transaction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, our time has come to an end for today.
Yes.
I have to go to West Carroll Parish.
You get to. Yes, and I am. So this was awesome. I enjoyed talking with you guys, and I hope you guys kind of got a sneak peek into some of our conversations.
Yep.
And again, what is the thing? If you heard something today that you would that you enjoyed or you brought you some value, subscribe, like, whatever, and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
Peace.
Let's go.